Okay. All right. Today, pretty straightforward. We're going to do some book checkouts today. So you're going to get your actual physical copy of the textbook. There's no online version that I have found yet. But you're going to get your textbooks today. We'll kind of go through how to read through those and stuff. Because the most common mistake that people make is when they get in a math class and they're struggling. They don't know how to read the textbook. So they just don't know how to look at it, how to read to see those examples. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take a few notes on the board, so I'll get rid of this here in a minute. We'll take a few notes up here, and then you are getting an assignment today, which I know is like first day, getting an assignment already. So keep that in mind. Period 5 is next, so it's a normal day, so there's your schedule. Okay? You got period 5 next. Okay, let me get rid of that on the board. 11:19, all right. Let's get rid of this. Let's turn that up, we don't need that anymore. Okay, I'm gonna stop the camera here in a second, but we're gonna do book checkouts. So I'll kind of hand you each of the textbooks. They're individually numbered. So when I hand them out, you're going to tell me what your book number is. So then I'll record it. I'm going to have your neighbor next to you confirm that's the number that you have. The reason why? Every once in a while I get that one person that's like, oh, I got 72. I write it down. It was 27. They said it backwards by accident. Like it happens. And then at the end of the year, I'm like, why do you got book 27 when it's 72, right? So we'll confirm that here in a second. But let me stop the camera. We'll check out some books here. Okay, so the blue diamond on page III, that's your chapter 1. It's got all the pages there. You can see that the first section starts on page 2. It's wages, then it kind of goes throughout the rest. How many pages are total in that chapter? About 29-ish. 29, could be 30, depending on how many pages are after it. So, not very big. Like, to me, that's a very small book. As you can tell, like how thin it is, like we go through chapters pretty quick. It's literally almost like a page or two, and then we're on to a new section. So keep that in mind. Some of these chapters are insanely fast. Like it could be we start the section, like the chapter 1, and we're done by the end of next week, and we'll have a quiz or a chapter test or a pop quiz at some point. So keep that in mind. Like there's some chapters that are just insanely fast that we have to cover. But yeah, some of the stuff can be ridiculously simple. I try to keep this class, I try to skip the fluff, and I try to just get to the point where like, what do you need to know, right? What do you need when you exit this class that's applicable to the real world? That's really what this class is for. A lot of people from last year said that they really like this course because it was just like, what was a real life application that we could use this stuff for? It's not like solving for X every day and talking about shapes. Like, it might be something like calculating a wage, or what your taxes will be out of your first check, or what your payments are going to be on a credit card that you've opened, or how do you calculate car payments, or what the total payments would be in the long run, or what a student loan would look like if you're ever going to go to college and you're going to take student loans out. So, I try to keep it applicable. There are some days it can be kind of a stretch, but there's something there that is useful that I probably have had to use at some point in my life. But yeah, now we don't go in order, so like don't feel like we're going to get section 1, section 2, section 3. We're not doing that. Like I skip around a lot. So there might be a day we might jump back to chapter 7, and come back to chapter 3, and then go to section 1.9. So keep that in mind. So it's not every day in order. Some days I mix some stuff together. There's some days that will be outside the textbook completely, where it's like you can't even see in the book, like where are you getting this stuff from? Stuff that I've had to deal with that deals with what you're talking about. So keep that in mind. All right, let's go to page 1 or 2? I think it's page 2. Go to page 2. So actual page 2, not a Roman numeral. So page 2. All right, this is the first section of chapter 1. How do you know that? If you flip back a page, go to page 1, you'll see a big colorful picture, and then at the top, it says, I believe even at the bottom of the page, it says, like right next to page 2, it says chapter 1, gives you the topic. The top of the page says what lesson you're in. You're in section 1, that's lesson 1. I call it section 1. Then it, has your topic. It's cut and dry and to the point. Look at that. One section is 1 page. It gives you a brief paragraph. It gives you an example in a green box. If you're colorblind, sorry, it's a green box. To me it is anyway. And then you've got some examples off to the side. It gives you some vocab terms off to the side. And then it has a couple example problems, right? there's not a lot of examples in this book. That's the one weakness of this book, is like if you didn't understand how to do it and you weren't paying attention, the book is not going to teach you how to do it. It's really relying on the person instructing to show you everything you need to know. So keep that in mind. There's some days that, I'll sign something that is different than what the book is saying. So just keep that in mind, always pay attention to that. Okay. Questions at all about the sections and what they look like? Okay, bold words are like vocab, so keep that in mind. They usually have them off to the side, but bold words, they kind of do a nice definition. They're in the back of the book, so if you flip all the way to the back, there's a dictionary back there, so they do highlight some of those words we have. I believe your book does not have an answer key in the back. So some people, like some math books, like if you flip the back, they have all the odds. This book doesn't have that. So that's where you might have to use like a website like Slater, because I'm not an idiot, I know about Slater, but Slater can give you some of those answers that you just want to check. Don't rely on that website, just do your homework, because like I said, some days I don't ask for what the book is asking for, I ask for something different. So keep that in mind. Like today's assignment we're going to get, other than its book cover, I'm going to ask you for something different than what the book gives you. So keep that in mind. So, all right. Questions at all about how to read that section, how the book is laid out? Okay, go back to your table of contents. Go back to page, what is that, page III or whatever that one was, I think. III, the Roman numerals. Let's get a sense for the chapters. Okay, so chapter 1 is earning money, wages, the actual pay scales when you go to a place of work. Turn that page, go to the next page, Roman numeral 4. You got chapter 2 and 3, you got buying food. We're going to probably skip that chapter, that's silly. I'm not going to teach you how to grocery shop. But chapter 2, buying clothes, or chapter 3, shopping for clothes, I usually skip that. The only thing I do actually cover in those sections is like what a discount and a markup means. That is kind of a big deal. Some people want to know, like, when it says 40% off or buy, 2 for 1 or whatever, like, some people need to know, like, just the simple ways of calculating that, like on a cell phone. So, like, you're in a store, you can really quickly type in your phone, you know exactly what the pay is going to be and what the taxes will be. That's really the only thing I cover. I don't go through those chapters in depth. Sorry if you want me to do that. I'm just not that person. I keep the food purchasing for like a foods course. Like Van Sickle will talk about how to save money on that. Especially since we have Hy-Vee here in town, they do couponing, and so some people like extreme couponing where they can get paid for their groceries when they use enough coupons. It's insane. So I'm not that person that does that. So. Go to the next one. You got chapter 4. You got managing a household. That is a chapter we will cover. Covers everything from home loans to renting. It covers anything from appliances and costs and gas and just things that you don't know that you haven't had experience in your life. Rent, yeah, that makes sense covering rent, but there's things that people don't know. It's like in bigger cities, you could be denied renting an apartment because you don't make a certain type of salary. There's an actual formula that will tell you whether you can be accepted initially into renting that apartment. So there's little things that you probably don't know of. Next chapter was chapter 5, buying and maintaining a car. We will go through that. We will talk about cars because that is a major thing that you will have to deal with in your life. At some point, you will have to either purchase a car or figure out a ways of transportation, so that's something we will talk about. If you turn the page to chapter 6, working with food, I don't really do the calorie count. I save that for foods. That's not my style. Foods actually does a section like that, so if you want to be into food. So chapter 6 is really, kind of skip over that one. Chapter 7 though, improving your home, I usually cover that one. That's maintenance. If you're gonna update your house by doing a home loan or something like that, or getting out a second mortgage, you can make an addition to your home. We do cover that. Cover costs. We talked about the house that's here in town that the carpentry students actually build. We'll talk about cost and efficiencies and stuff. So we'll eventually go through that because that is kind of a major part of a house that you have to upkeep it. So. Next one is traveling. We do cover that because that's a part of the car section, the car unit. That if you're going to travel, is it easier to rent? Is it easier to just drive your car there? Is it easier to fly? We do all those little weird cost efficiencies. We use a lot of websites to do things for us. We talk about Uber and other like more tech savvy ways of travel. That is a part of that. The chapter 9 stuff is budgeting your money. We do cover that, how to budget and how to do a checkbook and balance a checkbook. So that is an important thing, even though a lot of you guys are just electronic based probably now. You just have a debit card and everything's done electronically. It is kind of a priority. You probably should check your balance on your debit card to see that they're not overcharging you. Or what happened to me this weekend, I used an Uber in Des Moines and it charged me twice. So that was real fun.
Could AJ Tusha please come to the office? AJ Tusha?
So, and that's something that like I wouldn't have noticed because if I used it online, the only reason I saw that is my receipt came in through my email and I got 2 receipts for the same bill. So I was like, all right, I better go online and see what's going on there. Sure enough, got charged twice. So gotta contact Uber today. Turn the page. So we're on page Roman numeral 8 to 9. Chapter 10 is banking investments. We do talk about investments in here, stock market. We do cover that. We do talk about, doing not just stock market, but like investing in cars and homes and realty and real estate, I should say. And so there's a couple things we'll talk about there. Paying taxes, one of the last chapters we talk about. How do you actually calculate taxes? What do taxes come out? How does, presidencies actually affect your taxes, that type of thing. So, our government does, that's why we always ask people to vote, because the person you're voting in directly impacts the pay you're getting. And some people don't even think about it, I don't have to deal with the government. I'm not even interested in it. You are interested when they take out half your paycheck because of taxes. Then it suddenly becomes a priority. So keep that in mind. That's something we will talk about. And then at the very end, preparing for careers, do a career unit where we talk about jobs and pay scales. But I usually mix that in with wages. So that's in the beginning. So there's your chapters. So out of this whole, 12 chapters in this book, we cover almost 8 of them. If you think about it, if you go back through there, we cover about 8 chapters total. I mix a couple together, but there's some that we skip. If you want those complements, you go into probably foods course, or take you guys have to take the accounting course through Mr. Graham. Are you guys signed up for that one? Okay, but at some point, there's an accounting course that you guys will have to take. It's now required, and they do more in-depth stuff than what I'm doing. I'm covering the bare basic stuff that you can calculate. So keep that in mind. This course is kind of for a lot of you, it's probably your last math course. Probably this is your excellent math course. So kind of I try to prepare you for the real world so that you're not blindsided when you get your first student loan bill after 6 months of leaving college. Those are little things you don't realize when you get those bills, or a hospital bill, or what credit score means and other things, because you guys are too young probably for any of that yet. So, all right, questions at all about the chapters? Okay, let's start in. You can put your books away. Just close them. Okay, we'll get to it here in a minute. All right. I said we're going to cover some notes today. You do have an assignment today. Make sure that you get your book cover on your textbook. That is due by Thursday. That means when you walk in here Thursday, the book cover's on. It's 10 points. It's all or nothing. So don't walk in and go, Ward, I want to get the book cover on it before the end of class. It's all or nothing when you walk in. I will remind you every single day that assignment is coming up. That is literally in 4 days from now. So keep that in mind. Get the book cover on it. I would say just be safe. Go to your grocery store. Find some class in the school that has extra garbage bags and use one of those and put a book cover on it. But it's got to be a legitimate book cover. I don't want to see, can I borrow this? I don't want to see this. I've had years where kids think this is funny. They take a piece of tape, they tape it there and goes, oh, it's a book cover. That isn't a book cover. I can literally see the entire book. That's not covering anything. So, I'm going to fold that paper, sorry. But just keep that in mind. I've had that years past. Don't do that. All right. Okay, let's talk about our first concept here. We're in the first section. We're actually mixing 2 sections together. 1 and 1.2. Okay, now what I'm writing up here, this is a subsection. That's what that little symbol stands for. I always get questions asked, what is that symbol? That's what my professors use in college. This is the chapter that we're in. And this is the sections we're in, right? Sections 1 and 2. There you go. These are the sections. Okay, so we're going 1-1 to 1-2. So why I put that on the board, I would always do that for you every single day, so you know exactly where in the book you are supposed to be looking. So, because I do expect that at some point you will open that book at some point and try to find where we're actually at. And it's nice that you know, okay, today we covered section 1-1. I do require that you take notes, so make sure you are taking notes on that. All right, so the goal today is to talk about wages. This is probably your main thing you're probably going to have to deal with right now. You probably already have jobs, or maybe you're in the job market and you're looking. At some point you will have to deal with a wage. Wages are the cash you're collecting at the end of a pay period. That's a wage, right? So there's two different types. There's an annual wage, right? And there's an hourly, rate that you could have. These are really the two types of things you'll probably ever have to deal with in your life. What I mean by that is an annual wage is like, for me, this is something that I'm a part of, right? So for my job, for teaching here at the school, I have an annual rate that I get paid. I know up front when I sign my contract, this is the amount of money I'm getting, right? And that means it doesn't matter how many hours I put into this school, I'm getting the same pay. Some people like that, some people hate it. I'm on that form where I actually really like it, right? Just because I know exactly what I'm getting paid. Now, that doesn't mean I'm getting every single penny there. That means that's what I'm getting before taxes. So I always find that funny is that, because you can see all like government employees, you can see my salaries in the newspaper. They print out, what, twice a year, something like that, what, teachers get or federal employees get. And so kids are always like, or you make like $72,000 a year. No, I don't. I make like maybe a little bit more than 60% of that because of the taxes that come out. It's about 30 to 40% taxes are coming right off the top. And same with my insurances and my health care and all that, like papers. Like they're taking cash out. So yeah, you see that 72,000, I'm not getting paid that. I'm not getting that cash. It's not happening. So keep that in mind. But I have an annual wage, so I know what I'm getting paid up front. An hourly rate is probably what you're probably dealing with now, where you work so many hours, you get paid an hourly rate for the amount of hours you have. So that's probably more realistic, right? When I was in school, when I was a freshman in high school, I had a job. I worked in Clear Lake. I worked at a movie store in Clear Lake. They had a movie time. It was right next to Subway in Clear Lake. Now it's a coffee shop or something. I worked there. It was awesome. I could watch movies all day. They paid me per hour and then go home. But I worked 32 hours a week. Right around that. I was in high school, freshman year, working 32 hours a week at a movie store. That's a lot of hours. And I was a 3-sport athlete. I was in cross country, basketball, and golf. Working 32 hours a week. Right around that. That's a lot of hours. So especially for a freshman. But that was something that I knew I had to do, right? Because my freshman year, I wanted a truck. I wanted a car. I went out and bought a car my freshman year, and then I had to start paying it off because my parents don't pay off that. So it was one of those things I had to deal with that. Well, that's an hourly rate. So let's talk about that. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to ask for one of your, who has a job that they're willing to talk about here? Yalan?
Well, my sister does. That's
Perfect.
My sister's a correction officer back in Illinois.
That's cool.
She works for the Logan County Women's Correction Facility. She gets paid, she's an inmate guard.
Yeah.
She stands outside all day.
All right.
So.
She get paid per hour or an
Yeah,
annual
she gets
wage?
paid per hour, and
Okay.
as she ranks up, she'll get wages, like annual wages.
Cool. Okay, so what's her hourly rate if you know?
About $18 an hour.
Oh, okay, she's making good money. All right, so $18 an hour. Let's start with that. I like that, if you don't mind me using it. All right, $18 per hour. Okay, now, let's talk about that. So typically, an officer now, she probably works a lot more hours than probably what I'm gonna say. Let's say that she works 40 hours a week. That's a full workload. 40 hours is what the unions and the government has deemed as full-time in this country. So 40 hours a week. So that means if you're working 5 days, Monday through Friday, that's 8 hours a day. So that's 40 hours. Part-time is 32 hours or below. That's basically part-time. Now, why I would say that? So this is full, this is part-time. Now, why I write these up here? If you work, full workload, full 40 hours a week, you have full benefits through whatever job you have. Okay, they would have to offer you insurance. They would have to offer you other things according to the state standards, insurances and vacations and other things like that. Now they can have stipulations like you have to work there for 6 months, or you have to work there for so many weeks before you can actually take advantage of that. Some jobs even offer you stock options, for sticking around in the company. It's like little bonuses. Like you were saying, they get annual certain pays. That's kind of nice. They rank up. That's kind of nice.
She also has dental insurance, so if she, one of the inmates acts out and punches her or something in the face, she gets insurance for that.
See, insurances are huge, right? There's benefits. You little things like this you don't even think about. Like for me, my insurance, I have full time. I work here full time, but because I'm an annual wage person. But I have health care, I have vision insurance, and I have dental. Right? It's not full. They pay a certain percent, and then I pay the other percent of it. But it's one of those things like as a full time employee, you get benefits. Now, part time, you can still receive some benefits. Right? And maybe not everything that full-time does, but you still get some benefits. Maybe you get insurance. Maybe that's it. Maybe there's no dental and no vision. But you might get, some health care. Right? Some people don't, right? Think about our here in this building, the custodial staff, right? If they're part-time, they don't get any benefits. No health care, no vision, nothing. So it's a part of the union and what you can negotiate. Here's the problem. In the state of Iowa, the only thing you can negotiate is that in the state of Iowa. They've taken all rights from unions, no matter what union you're in. If you're in law enforcement, if you're in, in some type of EMT, if you're in, fire, if you're in a school employee, the only thing we can negotiate now is what we get paid per wage, starting wages. So, what a first-year teacher would get, what a second-year teacher would get, that's the only thing we can negotiate. We cannot negotiate insurances. We cannot negotiate, this is the scary part. It's like the school, you go, okay, we're not going to offer you insurance anymore. They can honestly do that. And we have nothing to do. We can't do anything about it. So you probably see a lot of teachers leave. But we can't. So it's one of those things that's something that you should be well aware of. Buying health insurance is insanely expensive. It's so expensive that some people can't even afford it at all. Even with the amount of money you're getting paid, you couldn't even afford to get health insurance. And some people have full families, right? They have kids and they have, a sibling. So it's one of those things that you need to be well aware of that when you're going to a job. Now, to calculate what you're getting paid. So let's say you're getting paid $18 an hour. Let's say you're working full time, 40 hours a week. So what you do to calculate what you're getting paid at the end of that time period, what your wage is, you take 18 times 40. What your amount you're making per hour times the amount of hours. So you multiply this, and boom, that gives you what your wages are. So, does anyone have a calculator in here? You got a calculator? Perfect. All right, you're in my little game picture. And if you need a calculator, there's some in the back. I have that little white tub. It's back, but behind the cell phones. You can go grab one. I don't mind if you want to go grab one of those.
720.
720 bucks. Okay, that's the end of the pay period. That's 1 week. Dang, this isn't good enough. But the thing is, you gotta remember, taxes are coming out, Social Security's coming out, health insurance is coming off that. So they always say, if you're getting a pay, you're probably getting about 60% of that money. So 60% of that is you take that number times 0.6, 60%, 0.6, and that tells you what you're taking home in cash. So take it times 0.6. And this is rough, I'm making that number up.
432.
Okay, 720 bucks, you're taking that times 0.6, and say it again?
432.
32. This is probably the cash you're getting in your check that you can actually put in your account.
Or bounces around, because it depends on where she's working in the prison. Because
Exactly.
they have the good people that you can work with, and then they have X out.
Okay.
Which X out's where their maximum part of their prison.
And so they get certain pay scales for
Yeah,
this.
depending
Okay.
on where they're
Yeah.
working, because if they're in X out, they're only monitoring them inside their cells.
Okay.
But for the other parts, they have to monitor them walking to lunch and then
Okay.
walking back, and then,
It's probably
Those
what
guys
terms
work
of
with-
danger you're in at that point, how they
and
mark it.
they're not fenced in
Okay.
at all. And they have a program with dogs, so they work with those too,
Ooh,
with the
wow,
guys
okay.
with the inmates with dogs.
That's serious. Do you like it?
Oh yeah, she loves her, my sister loves her job.
That's pretty awesome.
She works mostly with the guys with the dogs, so.
Okay.
with different
But-
endings.
But look at this. You saw your first paycheck. Like you're doing this amount in your head. Like, oh God, I'm getting $720 a week for like 4 weeks, right? Because I'm going, how many weeks are in that month? That's some good money. But you gotta remember, this is actually what you're taking home in cash the first week. To me, that's almost like half in cash. So don't go out and go buy a car because you're not actually taking home $720. You're actually taking home less. This is what the wages are saying before taxes and everything. So, but that is still important. Now, to calculate what you're getting paid, so this is hourly rate per week. Anyone happen to know how many weeks are in a year? That's easy, right? There's 52 weeks in a year. 52 weeks in a year. Now, you're not obviously going to work every week. Some people have to. Correctional officers probably have to. But there's certain jobs you don't. Like for me, like teachers, everyone's like, oh, where do you only have to work like 9 months a
You get
year?
1 day off.
Yeah, look at this. 1 day off.
She
Like-
gets Thursdays off.
Yeah, so think about this. You're working 52 weeks a year. I don't, obviously. But most people in like a real world setting will probably work about 50 weeks a year. There's some that are less because maybe you get certain vacation times and certain weekends and certain. So you'll probably work probably about 50 weeks a year. So you take what you're getting paid per week times 50. What is this person making per year?
36,000.
$36,000 a year. That's pretty good money. Now, again, that's your annual wage. That's taking every single penny from your per hour times how many full 40-hour work week times how many weeks you're gonna work. Now, this is a made-up number. Like maybe you're gonna work 58 weeks. Maybe it's less. Maybe you're only working 48. For me, I have to work significantly less. But here's the thing. I don't actually do any of this because my employer told me how much money I'm making. They just go, okay, you're making this amount. And then you just divide that into how many months you have. So you wrap your head around this. I don't get paid in the summer. Think about that. My last paycheck is May. And my first paycheck that comes out is August. So in the middle there, June, July, and to August, I don't get a single paycheck in the middle of summer. None. And you're thinking, okay, well, how do you do that? Because I still have to make mortgages. I still have to make car payments. I still have to pay student loans, because yes, I'm still paying my student loans off. And I still, have kids and I have to buy groceries and I have cell phone bill, right? My cell phone bill is more than my house payment, which is ridiculous. But look at that. Look at all those things I have to purchase. But I have 3 months a year I don't get paid. I get paid $0. No paycheck coming in the mail. So I have to save all this cash during the year so that I know I can make those payments for that amount of months. I have to budget that ahead of time. So it's one of those things there's weird things you have to think about. Like you're seeing this $36,000 a year and you're probably getting raises and you're getting little bonuses here and there, but you're still getting taxes taken out of that. You're still getting healthcare and Social Security and other things taken out of that. So if you're getting 60% of this, take 36 times 0.6 again.
21,600.
This is probably what you're taking home in cash. So that's a made up number. You're taking 60% roughly of your pay. That's what you're walking home with. This looks really great on paper, and when you see the newspaper, you're like, Ward makes $72,000 a year. That looks really good on paper, but I'm taking home 60% in cash. And I'm using that to pay off student loans and cars and stuff. So just wrap your head around that. So to give you a real life example, when I left Iowa State, I graduated in 2006 from Iowa State. They don't tell you that 6 months later, they don't tell you this. It's this weird unwritten thing that you don't know. 6 months later, your first student loan bill will come to you in the mail, whatever address you signed up. 6 months later, on the dot. So if you drop out of college, 6 months later to that day, you're getting your first bill. My first bill for my student loan was half my paycheck. It was $1,000 every month off the top of what I was getting paid. And when I first started teaching, this is a real number, mind you. First year teaching at Ventura, this is my annual pay. That was my annual pay. That's what the newspaper said I made. Because now I've significantly moved up. I've been teaching 13, 14 years. I'm now coaching a ton of different things, and I'm in different programs. This is what I was getting paid. 60% of that comes out in cash, but I'm paying $1,000 a month in student loans, and I'm still paying that to this day, 14 years later, a month. After I had around that. You're like, Ward, you did not take out that much in student loans. Yeah, but you don't think about that. Student loans are billed differently, right? You took out so much money to go to college. It goes to those creditors that loan you that money, and there's certain percents that they charge you on top for not paying it off. So you're doing the math, you're like, okay, $1,000 a month, so that's $12,000 a year that I'm paying in student loans for 14 years. So now I'm already over what, 120 grand worth of student loan? And I'm still paying it off. And you're like, Ward, you went to Iowa State and it was that much? No. It's because that's the extra like cost for not paying it off. It's they charge a certain percent for interest rate. So you guys will, like when I graduated Iowa State, I had $68,000 worth of student loans. Because that was 4.5 years at Iowa State. $12,000 a year for 5 years roughly, and there's certain interest that builds throughout those. But it was $68,000. But I'm still paying, I'm already at 120. And you're like, Ward, that doesn't make any sense. You've already paid it like twice over. When I'm done